Testimony Thursday with Ernisa. It's Testimony Thursday with Ernisa. Subscribe.
Years ago, 2017, 15, 16, 17, I did open up a couple shows with Dr. Umar Johnson, yes.
And so those are some. Did you ever perform that poem?
I don't think that one was written yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So where did you meet Dr. Umar Johnson?
Funny enough, Dr. Umar Johnson had someone down in the area who was putting on an event for him. And he gives his number out on the internet all the time. And so I texted his phone number and I said, hey, no, my bad. That's not how it happened. Let me back up to the first time I opened up with Dr. Umar. It wasn't none of that yet. That came second. The first time it was the Nation of Islam here in St. Pete. The Nation of Islam was bringing Dr. Umar in, and they knew me, they know me. And so the brothers from the Nation of Islam reached out to me and asked me if I could open up for Dr. Umar at the Palladium Theater here in St. Pete when he first came to St. Pete. So that's how I got to open up for Dr. Umar the first time. The last couple times, it was me reaching out to him and saying, hey, it's Marques, da-da-da. And he told me, once I told him who I was and he remembered me from the first time, he told me anytime he's in Florida to hit him up and let him know so that way I can always open up for him. And I did. So every time every time he was coming to Florida, I would reach out and he would give me the contact person's name because he knew he wanted me to open up for him. So he would give me, he wanted me to reach out. So I reached out, and when I reached out, he gave me the contact person's name because he let them know that he was coming and he was going to have me to look out for my call. So when I called that person his contact, they put me in, put me on stage before him, and the rest is history because I started doing shows down in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, where Trayvon Martin was killed, Sanford, Florida, where he was killed at. So God rest his soul. So I was there all over Florida with Umar. So yeah, I've had my time with him. It was a good ride. And funny thing too, I was the only person he ever promoted on his page. The only person Dr. Umar Johnson ever promoted opening up for him on his page. Any other time, he don't announce anybody else that's doing work with him on the shows. It was always, so when he knew I was coming, he put me on his page and I was like, wow, that was big. That was big.
Did you meet anyone else as a result of that relationship? Or as a result of opening up for him?
I mean, I met a lot of good people in the areas. Yeah, I met people that, I'm an author as well. So I had books. I had the opportunity to, meet people when the show would end. People come up and buy my books and we connect. And I've actually did events for people that was there at the Umar Johnson shows. It was people that saw what I did, knew I was local, and brought me back in. So yeah, it was people I met. Not anybody of that name, but people that put on events and shows that brought me back to open up. And I've been back to certain cities he was at to do shows. So I thought that was a good, there was some benefits from what I got from Umar.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
And it was beneficial to him as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
A win-win is always good.
Yep, absolutely.
So what led you to write your books, and how did you so are you self-published? Did you go through a publisher? Like, what led you to authoring, and what was the inspiration behind your literary works, and what made you decide, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and put pen to paper, and this is going to be a body of work, and I'm going to release it?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So I had been writing since the loss of my son. Poetry came to me because I didn't know how to get out what I was feeling. So that's how poetry found me, because of that situation with my son. And I guess that's the start of my pen to paper journey, when I started journaling things out, writing poetry, book thoughts, ideas, whatever, dreams, visions. I wrote everything down. And I had the idea to write a poetry book. That was my, naturally I'm a poet and I got all these poems. So let me put it into a book. So that was the first book I ever written. And I got to be honest with you, I'm going to tell you right now, don't go look for it because it is on Amazon. But if you go look for the book, it's my worst work. And I'm not saying my writings, but the format, the layout. I'm a young author trying to learn how to publish, self-publish, and format a book. I wrote the book in black ink, literally on black paper. Okay, so don't go looking for this poetry book of mine on Amazon. You're gonna find a horrible work of mess. But it's a learning curve. We all learn and we get better. And I keep it there because it's like it's not a pride thing, but proud thing. I'm proud that I was able to at least get something out there. It shows me, oh, you had a journey where you came through. So my poetry book was the first book I wrote, but that was a natural, thing to come from poetry writing and journaling. But I decided to write, I wrote a bestseller, which is called Breaking Out, Escape the Fear of Failure. I wrote that in 2017. Published it, sold mad copies of it all around the nation, toured it, and I went on a journey speaking at schools, universities, mentoring young kids with that book by my side. I wish I had a copy with me. It's in my truck. I wish I had a copy with me. But I wrote that book, and that was my bestseller, and that was a self-published piece of work. I just thought, it was time. It was time for people to get, the full scope of how, because a lot of people was asking, like, you got no degrees, you got no education. How you getting all these invitations to speak here, speak there, and do this and do that? And I didn't have a book yet. People was asking, how you do all this? God, it was a calling on me. So I can't really say I was knocking on doors, although I did to some degree, but not to the places I got in, and so it was just all God, and God still continues to show up for me like that today. I get public events, speaking events that I'm not doing any labor for, so I know it's God opening those doors. Books help do that. I wrote 7 books. I'm a 7-time published author. I wrote a fiction novel. That was the hardest work I've ever did, which took me, let me tell you something funny. My fiction novel was the very first book I started writing. Poetry, all that. My fiction novel was the very first book. I wrote it, put it down, wrote in it, put it down, wrote in it, put it down throughout the years. It took me 10 years to do. In the midst of that, I wrote 6 other books. So that's crazy, but fiction is hard. It's a hard genre because you're playing, multiple characters in your head. And I tell people all the time, anybody that wrote a fiction novel needs to see a therapist because we're all schizophrenic. We got multiple voices and characters in our head that we're playing out to write these books. And that's true. I had to play multiple characters.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with us.